What a freaking intense week of waiting it has been for this week's episode, as we all can't forget how we freaking left off. We finally got to meet the Witch of Envy, who gave us that delightful ASMR tingle saying I love you. At the same time, I did feel a little bit of a murderous intent, but still, it was orgasmicizing. However, as much as that ASMR was a nice addition, it is just another thing we have to deal with now. So within this Return by Death, Subaru now has to stop the Witch of Envy, make sure he's friends with Otto and the Loli Baba this time, make it in time to stop Elsa, and now we also have to worry about where the frick Emilia is, as she wasn't next to Subaru when he woke up. So there's so much to get into, so without further ado, let us jump into episode 10 of ReZero. If you guys want to watch full anime, make sure to check out the link above, or else we start the video in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh damn. This is gonna be an intense episode. Oh, this is gonna be a good episode. Which means... Oh! The shadow swallowed all of them up. Oh! Rob saved you! Oh, that's a new look. Is it? Oh, so with the whole Roswell scene, that was him being engulfed within the shadow. Eh? The fuck? It's the opening. The clones of... They're empty on the inside. What have you guys been planning? Oh, we're gonna bust through with sheer numbers. Damn. Okay, I don't think we're gonna have an opening. Okay, strap in, guys. When there's no opening, you know shit's about to go down. I needed like 10 hours of that ASMR. I did, but maybe a little less like, I'm gonna fuck you up at the same time, and not that type of fuck you. Oh no! Oh, they're like little explosives. Okay, so they weren't. I thought Ryuzu was going to be involved with the right rabbits, but it wasn't. Yeah, no. I love you. I love you. I love you. Did they use the same... There's no room for you in here. Oh, I feel like that pissed her off severely, sincerely. I was gonna say, did they use the same Seiyu as Emilia? Wait, did Emilia become the Witch of Envy? Does she devour? I'm actually not too sure on that. I apologize if that was meant to be obvious. But it's just her voice. Can we... Why is it glowing? Oh my god, I'm sorry, I need to take a break from that. I love you. Stop it, fucking stop it! Oh, it's turning into something. A dagger, so Subaru can get out of this. Oh my god. kind of does look like an older version of Emilia, doesn't it? Wait. Okay, it looks like we made it back. Wait, Amelia's just hated on because she looks like the Witch of Envy, right? She's not actually the Witch of Envy, right? I feel... But then why did he say, I'll save you? He is afraid of Emilia now. Well, naturally his body. Wait, so did Emilia go, like, berserk mode into Witch of Envy? Am I just having a dumb moment here? Because remember when Subaru returned, Emilia wasn't there. Just let it out, Subaru. Just let it all out. I feel like he's like, I love my waifu, but at the same time, she terrifies me. But you only cause trouble for her. Why are you even alive? Thanks, Rom. Thanks. This was surprisingly a lot more like kind of calm than I thought it was gonna be though. I knew he was gonna use Return by Death again, but that's it though. Echidna, once again MVP for making. That's why she wanted the Petra's like little handkerchief thing from last week's episode. Awkward. Okay, at least we're. It looks like we're at least friends this time. It's so different, isn't it? Yeah, it isn't hostile anymore. That's so weird. I think this is the most ideal. I love the way she talks to Subaru, honestly. Usually look a lot more vague. What's Subaru planning this time? So he's going back to the... Oh, so that's what all the flashbacks kind of looks were. Interesting. Where's this place? Is this maybe like the second trial entrance? No, I don't think it works like that. Isn't that Echidna's symbol? What, the butterfly? The hairpin? Also, someone's... Ooh. What's going on? Will this allow... Let's see, let's see. Oh, it's gonna be Echidna in there, isn't it? Or maybe not. Nani desu ka? Huh? Oh, this is Ryuzu-san. Gotcha. It was another who you met in the forest. What's being written in the contract that binds us? The copies of... That was such a... I didn't expect her to... Her action. Echidna. A girl looked just like me, trapped within the matter. So that was the true empress. Are copies of her. Not exactly. It's just fascinating. I guess that explains the kind of hint within the opening. Okay. I do like how she talks about it so easily. To add something to those bodies. So I guess you're kind of the only one that has a soul. Immortal. Oh, so technically, so that's why she knows. Because the soul just keeps like getting passed on, so like none of their memories technically it won't. You must. The original 4 copies. 400 years ago. I mean, Loli Baba. This sounds quite sad, the like sad story life of a clone. Yeah, you found a hobby of tea drinking. Oh, he has the. Oh, so Echidna did that. She fed you her body fluids. That's why you drank her body fluids. Donacha. That's the reason. So you're just a part of a witch. What is Echidna planning as well now? Who did? Okay, at least we're on much better terms, not only with Garth, but with Loli Baba this time. This was new. I like genuinely did not expect this kind of like whole cloning soul thing from like Loli Baba. After tomorrow. After tomorrow. I don't like any like dates that are set. That was a. I honestly hope we never see that scene again. Like I just yeah. Why are you looking like a ghost, sweetie? Why are you out here? Sort of just having a moment of her beauty. Okie dokie. Yeah, she looked like spiritual. Maybe it's because of the like beamy moonlight. Yeah, I thought being called a fairy was a compliment. Oh wait, no, yeah, fairies are evil spirits in this. Deo cultural barrier. I wonder if Puck's gonna make any appearance in season 2. I feel like this is another very like calm before the storm episode. Like I feel like with the last two kind of episodes coming up, shit's about to go down. This episode is just too peaceful. Then we all wish Puck was here. Well, I want to see Puck. Does anyone else miss Puck? Am I the only one? This is a beautiful piece. You're gonna be fine, Emilia. I'm on your side. Oh. Yeah, this just makes me feel uneasy. I don't know. Any moments like these in like ReZero now, I'm just like, oh, you're gonna suffer a lot in like 5 minutes, aren't you? I know, it just feels like Shobura's like farewells again to everyone. Like considering like once again we have a kind of talk with Otto. You can always talk to me. Gross. Shh. Sleep, my children, sleep. I honestly did like the bromance that kind of blossomed between these two. And that's exactly why I can't tell you. What, is that good? Oh, I don't know. Something I can't tell Ram Roswell or the villagers about. Oh, this got me real uneasy. This feels like a final kind of like boss music. Oh fuck, not Otto. Now we were bros. He doesn't sound as like hostile as before. Okay, maybe not, maybe not. Why didn't he bring it up yesterday? I honestly love the dragon. So protective. No one talks about you, but you be MVP as well. I've got a good idea of what gets a reaction out of you and what makes you mad. So it will go pretty well then. Wait, Rory comes to the NZ? He would never betray Emilia. And I don't think he would turn back on the sanctuary either. It's Subaru. It's a Subaru. What is Garth hiding? I know Garth just be like protective. Oh no, I think he does. Yeah, I do know. Subaru knows best. I know hell, and I've come back from it. I think like Subaru's one person you can't say that he hasn't been through shit in his life. And I think, yeah, I think Garth can respect that at least. Because you could tell his eyes ain't lying. He'd be a man that has been through hell and dunked in it and back. I'm the only one that needs to know hell. I know hell. Oh shit. Oh, okay, now we have a little more. I thought that was how it's gonna end. Is that symbol gonna be important? Has it always been there? And I did it actually being a really protective charm, didn't it? Yeah, not in the way you probably intended it to, but it was super useful. Or to take... I use it to take my life. Thanks, Petra. Such a sweetie. Yeah, she is. Where are you off to then? If you're leaving, is it going to go off? Hello, Betty. The end of the contract that lasted out. I would truly be set free this time. Huh? Wait, what is she on about? Okay, this episode, it was a little bit different than what I kind of expected. I thought shenanigans would kind of go down this episode, but it was a lot more kind of like slower tempo. However, it threw so many new things at me, and that's why I probably had like so many what the fuck moments, because a lot of the new information they kind of throw at us made me re-question things I finally thought I had answers to. And I guess that's what ReZero is brilliant at always doing, and making me rethink all the things that I thought that I freaking knew. But I guess let's start with this ending here, because I feel like that's going to tie in with this overall kind of new thing that I've kind of picked up on, is that looks like Beatrix is finally looking at Subaru like the key to her freedom, because we know that she is indeed like kind of contracted or like stuck in this library and is contracted to kind of like be the protector and keeper of it. And she talks to Subaru and she looks at Subaru this time as though he is the key that has finally gone her set her free. And why I think that ties in all together with all the information we learned today is I think Subaru is the key to not only Satalia, the Witch of Envy, as well as Emilia, as well as Echidna, is because the talk we had with Loli Baba today with the whole clone thing. At first I was just like, okay, cloning, like new cool concept, like transferring of souls, etc. But I'm now starting to think that Beatrix is one of the first clones, because during that whole conversation with Loli Baba, when she talked about she was the first kind of 4 clones to be made, I was actually in my head constantly thinking like, oh, who are the other 3 kind of like original clones there? Did they all fail, or are they within the village? Because when we first got introduced to Loli Baba kind of clones, it seems as though the Ryuzu one was kind of the main one, with the other ones as they had like more of a white uniform and were like easily disposed as kind of like bombs when we were fighting the Witch of Envy. So we can tell that Ryuzu is like the main kind of head of all the kind of clones. And so I'm thinking that we're gonna either meet the other original 3, or one of the other original 3 is actually Beatrix. Because I've been constantly mentioning throughout like the past 2 episodes how I think Beatrix's mom is Echidna, because you know she's a guardian of the library, Echidna the Witch of Greed, aka Knowledge, and I also thought that she passed on like the Book of Knowledge to her. But mainly I always talked about how like I felt like Echidna like made her, like I literally mentioned this in last week's episode or the week before, how I was like, oh, I don't think like Echidna gave birth to Beatrix, I think she like made her. So I feel like that's gonna tie in with the clone thing, not 100% sure, but I feel like since I talked about how like Echidna made Beatrix, and considering Loli Baba literally talked about clones and like Echidna making clones and like soul transfer, I was like, wait, hold up a minute, didn't A and B of like Echidna making Beatrix and also Echidna making these clones all tie in kind of maybe together? And I also feel like because Echidna is kind of using Subaru like this like chess piece to kind of like help everyone out, that's why I feel like Beatrix was actually really happy to Subaru this time, because she talked about how like, oh, if you are my ending, like if you are the person to set me free, like that would be really ironic. And I think that also explains why Echidna was attached to Subaru, because I also think that Echidna Echidna and Subaru have a history. I know Subaru said like, oh, she probably acted friendly because we're both like have similar things of being immortal, but I think it's more than that. I think with the whole talk of like soul transfers and things, I feel like Subaru and like all the witches actually have like a history. You know how they always talk about like 400 years back? I know like Subaru technically got isekai, but what happens if Subaru was actually summoned because his soul matches the original Subaru? Because we actually just brush past the reason as to why Subaru got isekai. We think it's just like because of, you know, isekai, but it might actually not just be because of isekai, because there has to be a reason as to why Zetalia loves Subaru so much. Like she constantly says like, I love you, I love you, I love you. And when she watched Subaru die, she was like crying her eyes out, which I don't think like actually matches with her like kind of reaction. And so I think with this whole talk of clones actually brought into play a concept that there might actually be kind of immortal souls, like souls of like bloodlines that need to like be continued. And so maybe Subaru was actually not only isekai but actually summoned into this world because there was like maybe an original Subaru and his soul matched the most, and that's why like these bodies and souls match, but they were just created in the human world, and so they needed to come into this world instead and was summoned. And I just went back on this like entire conversation between Ryuzu as well as Subaru, but if you just read it and listen to it in the first layer, it's just like, oh yeah, talk of like clones and bodies and stuff like that, but there's actually a lot of hints in it, like this part where he says like, that's why she kept acting familiar with me, my return by death makes me basically immortal too, was she just happy to find a kindred spirit? Like he asks that like a question, and I don't think it's just that. I don't think it's just like, oh, because we have like a similar power going on, but I think she genuinely has like a past history with Subaru. Like she reacted to Subaru as though like she was kind of re-seeing him. So in the first layer you might just be like, oh yeah, it's because they're alike, but I don't think it's just that. And then next we go into the conversation of like inheriting souls and bodies. I think this whole conversation, re-listening to it, gives us a big hint that like which souls can't just match with any human being. Like, because here, I think this is the biggest line here. It says that Ryuzu was an insufficient vessel to house the witch of greed. Why does she refer to Echidna the whole time as Echidna, then the witch of greed as a separate entity? I found that really interesting. That might just be a sub thing and me like nitpicking the shit out of it, but the way they talked about it was as though like this body, like the clone body, could technically maybe take in like Echidna's soul, but not like the witch of greed's soul, because they talked about it as two different things that could and could not be imported. And why I mentioned that is that I want to go to the whole scene we had with the Witch of Envy, Zetalia, and the whole look going on that looks exactly like Emilia. And that's why I was having such a bamboozling moment, because I swear to God they used the same Seiyu as well as Emilia, and that's why I was like, the fuck? That's why I had such a moment be like, so it is Emilia? But I thought Emilia just looked like the Witch of Envy and that's why she got like shit on. Or maybe like she's a descendant, but I just don't think like she's going to be the actual Witch of Envy. Like I don't think she's Zetalia, like Emilia is Emilia, but then they looked alike, they sounded exactly the same as well, so maybe it is Emilia. Because I also thought the fact that when Subaru woke up to see the Witch of Envy, Emilia wasn't there, and that's why I was at a moment be like, wait, so it is Emilia. Like Emilia must have gone into her berserk mode and maybe like unleashed the Witch of Envy, and maybe that's why we haven't seen Puck in a while, because maybe like Puck got overtaken by the Witch of Envy's powers instead, and that's why like it finally triggered after Emilia went through these like insane ass trials, and maybe that's where it finally triggered. Or maybe Emilia was in a weakened state for the Witch of Envy to overtake her body, because if it did look like Emilia, and the fact that I mentioned how a witch and the actual witch itself could be like two separate entities, so like the body aka Echidna, then the witch of greed could be two separate entities. I'm thinking that maybe like with Emilia's case, like after the trials, the Witch of Envy was allowed to like enter her body, and that's why it did look like Emilia and it was Emilia, but she's not necessarily the Witch of Envy. Okay, and last scene I want to talk about is this scene where I was so confused as to why Subaru was suddenly like, I'm going to save you, but I just realized watching it for like the 5th time that I don't think that was Subaru's hands, and I think that was Subaru just like innately saying it without even realizing himself. Because like before this whole interaction, he was pretty much saying like, fuck you, like my love has already been taken by waifu number 1 and waifu number 2, there is no spot for you, waifu number 3. And so I was so surprised when Subaru was like, oh, I'll save you, like don't worry. I was just like, like, the fuck? Like, why do you want to suddenly save her? And why does this witch look like she's in so much pain? I just like didn't kind of understand what was going on. And that's why my first initial reactions were just like, the fuck is going on? I'm so confused. Am I the only one that's not understanding what the frick is going on? But after all this theory, like pretty much rewatching the entire episode and after all this theorizing, I think this ties in with what I mentioned at the start of like how there's a history and there's a reason why Subaru isekai'd. And I think Subaru has a history with all the witches, especially Echidna as well as Satalia. And that's why Satalia has such an affection for Subaru. Like, I know that Subaru is an absolute pussy magnet, but I feel like the Witch of Endi or either Satalia has that history, and that's where the immense amount of love for Subaru comes from. And I think this is maybe like a ghost or a memory or a past Subaru, or maybe it's just like a random hand, but the hand is like pitch black. So I could quite confidently say that is not Subaru's hand, because when we actually watch the scene where Subaru is trying to like take off the veil, we see Subaru's hand, like his actual like kind of hand and his like black jacket, whereas that scene that's wiping the tears and saying like, oh, don't worry, I'll save you, that's not Subaru. Like, that's not maybe the current Subaru, but maybe that was the past Subaru, or maybe the future Subaru, or maybe like a completely different memory. But like that, I think kind of explains the reasons as to why Subaru said like, I'll save you. Because when he initially said like, I swear I'm gonna save you, I was just like, the fuck, Subaru? Like, she'd be freaking cray cray, and you already have like waifus 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you want to take on this hoe as well? But taking a step back, I do think there's an actual deeper meaning behind it. But yeah, those are my theories from this week's episode. My initial reactions was like hella confused because it made me re-question a lot of things that I thought I knew, but actually going back on like certain scenes from this episode, I think they actually had a lot more deeper meaning than I originally thought. Like, I do like how, I know I'm reading the sub, so it could be like translated incorrect, but I feel like there's actually like an underwritten like meaning to the actual words that are being said throughout this episode. That's why it was a bit hard to pick up on, and I probably looked hella confused throughout that episode. But going back on it, I feel like I answered a lot more questions. But yeah, hopefully you guys made sense of all that shenanigans that I just spewed out. But yeah, going to the last few episodes, I'm hella hyped. I definitely feel like they're gonna leave us on one intense cliffhanger, considering they've been doing that every single week. But it does look like next week Subaru does indeed have a plan for this kind of route of return by death. So super excited to explore that. So until then, make sure you guys stay awesome, and I'll definitely catch you guys next time.